trucking industry? Is electric trucks as well as just everything going electric slash autonomous, you think is going to be a good thing for the industry or potentially a bad thing?
Just like everything in the logistics business, that's clear as mud because it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is electric and exploring any kind of new form of energy for transporting freight is a great idea, right? Everybody wants to flock to electric, and you need balance in everything, your life, balance in the trucking business. So I believe truly you need hydrogen, you need electric, diesel, gas, and not be beholden to any one energy source.
Matt O'Mara, the founder of Whimsy Intermodal out of Mount Prospect, Illinois. How are you today, Matt?
Very good, thank you. Happy Aloha Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday. I love, it's like sleet outside. It's cold, but you're wearing the Aloha Friday. So good vibes only with Matt here. So Matt, you're the founder, owner of Whimsy Intermodal based out of Mount Prospect, Illinois. You've been doing it for almost 30 years. Well, 26, I think to be exact.
Our 27th year right now.
27th year?
1996.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey, and you've probably learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, there's no substitution for experience, that's for sure.
Definitely. Especially when you look in the trucking industry, not many companies survive that long. It's usually just a few years, and like there's not many companies that have been around for 27 years in trucking and logistics. So
I have a lot of good teams over that time to be thankful for. That's the only way you make it through it, right?
Definitely. So how old were you when you started Whimsy Intermodal?
I believe I was your age, 28, 29 years old.
Yep. What made you want to start a trucking company?
I was actually I was raising my son. And when I was a mover, that's how I started in the trucking business before I started Whimsy, is I was a mover, and my son had to go to daycare, so like a third of my check every week would go to daycare. So I had gone into being a bartender, so I could work at night and be with my son during the day, and it was easier to find people to watch your son at night in my family. And then I met my wife, and she helped raise my son, and we had another child, my daughter, and went back into the moving business, and we were slow October through May, and we did industrial moves.
This was 95 to 96, right?
No, this is way before that.
Okay.
Yeah. And all the people we're working were mail haulers, garbage haulers, container haulers, fuel haulers, and I said, "This is the wrong business for me. I need to be working."
Yeah.
So I became an owner operator at a company in Bensonville, and that's how I got into the intermodal business. And the intermodal company that I was working for got bought out by a company back then was called Fritz Companies. And when they bought the company, they didn't want all the company tractors and company drivers that were there. So I had taken over their leases, took in 10 of their trucks and 10 of their drivers. And that's how I went from 1 truck to 11.
So, okay, that's when you started Whimsy, was when?
No, I was still an owner-operator.
Still an owner-operator, but you bought out 10 trucks.
I took over the leases and hired their drivers.
Okay, so which company was that for? How did that
It was, it was Unlimited Warehouse.
Okay.
And then it got purchased by the Fritz Companies.
Yeah.
Which in turn got purchased by UPS.
Okay, got it. So like a long strain. So you ended up having 11 trucks, owner-operators.
Yeah.
And what year was this in?
1995.
95? Okay. So that was a year before Whimsy was opened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Whimsy actually got started on a company. We did work for Brennan International, and that became Direct Container Line or Vanguard Logistics today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you heard of those companies?
I've heard of Vanguard Logistics.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I got started. And Whimsy went from me driving and dispatching to finally moving to an office,
Sure.
dispatching from an office. Me and one person worked the office, and that's how it started.
What was the industry like back in 96?
Well, it's funny you should say that because everybody complains about chassis today, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't changed since back then. When I was an owner-operator, that's how I excelled. You know, I would ask the dispatchers to give me all the stuff that nobody wanted. I mean, we still do that at Whimsy today. We tell our customers, give us your most difficult freight, the things that nobody wants to deal with. Those are the things, those are the lemons that we turn into lemonade, and that's how we've grown. So, the team enjoys challenges.
Sure. I love that. That's amazing. So back in 96, you became a business owner. You were young. How did it look like, compared to where it's now?
So as I said, I would dispatchers would give me 5 containers. They were Evergreens. Evergreen had a CY yard at the CSX Bedford Park, and I would go in there and I would fix all the chassis, flip all the ones that needed to be flipped, fix all the chassis that needed to be fixed, and then it was a drop and pull Sears Mantino. So I would run a load down the Sears Mantino, drop it, grab an empty, go back.
Where at?
It was the Sears Distribution Center in Mantino, Illinois.
Oh, Mantino. Oh, got it. Okay. That's like 50, 60 miles? Or?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Just changed hands last year or whatever, finally, or since the destruction of Sears.
Yeah. I saw a post today about that on LinkedIn. But so that was like the beginning of Whimsy. And how did you progress in industry? What has changed, in the intermodal industry in the last 27 years?
Well, everything's changed, but nothing's changed. And the business has always been clear as mud, and today it's still clear as mud. So, more technology, biometric readings for drivers, all of these things. Back in the day, we didn't even have Nextels, and then we got into Nextels or Direct Connect, push to talk, and a lot of things in trucking have evolved. Communication, the way drivers get their information, the way they're expected to execute their missions. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And so when you started, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 11 trucks at Whimsy.
I don't know the specifics.
Okay, somewhere around there.
That's correct.
Yeah, and right now, how many do you have?
Not really sure, but I think we have about 58 company trucks between Kansas City and Chicago.
Okay.
And then about 145 owner-operators.
Okay. What were like the most difficult years in business, and how were you able to get through those years?
Well, 2008, right? 2008 happened. Whimsy was 50, 60 triaxle chassis. We delivered a lot of granite slabs, tiles, ceramic tiles, stuff like that. Came in 20-foot containers, required triaxles. So 2008 happened, and there wasn't going to be any big housing booming. It was crashing. So I went out and sold, I want to say, 20 or 30 of our triaxles, 12 of our tractors, got rid of our lowest producing drivers, and got rid of the customers that strung us out the longest on payables. And that was all from October to January of the next year by 2009. Everybody in the business, that's all I heard. We're going out of business. We're going out of business. No, we were digging a bigger moat, digging in, and doing the necessary things like everybody should be doing anytime there's a downturn in the economy.
Yeah. Do you see any resemblances between '08 and this year?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. So we've really been just humming along. I see now. Only now we should be as busy as we've ever been, right? So it's like we're in the twilight zone. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone right now because everybody should be extremely busy, and you can just see it falling off a cliff.
Yeah. There's no peak season.
Well, it already peaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Read to see some good information. People backing away from air freight, going ocean freight now that the freights have dropped.
Yeah.
But you can tell Whimsy has over 200 chassis, and drivers months ago we're like, hey, we're getting slow. And I said, when you see bare chassis everywhere, we're getting slow. And now there's probably a good 80, but they'll be used every day. So, but they're not sitting under boxes. So
Yeah, definitely. So within these 27 years, Matt, like I know we've talked a lot about this in the last couple of days about giving me a lot of business wisdom, advice, and things that you've learned along the way. Can you kind of share us, like I guess, your journey from like a mindset perspective when you were 28, starting out Whimsy, and to where you are today? Like, what are like the biggest takeaways that you've learned throughout those years?
okay, well that's a lot there.
Yeah.
So I'll start with a story. My son was in Little League, and I was the manager of the Little League team. Whimsy was in Bensonville at the time, and of course you're always leaving late, right? And my tire on my car was flat, so I took the time out, changed the tire, and the spare I put on was low on air, and I overfilled it. And on the way to the game, the tire exploded, and I just drove on the rim there. By the time I pulled up, they were almost ready to forfeit, and I needed a fire extinguisher because the tire had caught on fire by then. So those are kind of things you go through when you're a young father, and you're trying to do everything you can to meet all the obligations in your life, not just freight obligations.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, then I was raising my family, and I guess just on cruise control. We really didn't go through any growth processes or anything like that. We just hummed along at about the same size that we always were, probably around 58 to 72 trucks. And once my kids were growing up and out, everybody's like, what are you going to do? When are you going to retire? And I was like, I don't want to retire. I want to have fun. And so we've been going through a metamorphosis at Whimsy, focusing on our team and everybody's happiness, right? Mm-hmm. You get more out of people when they're happy, and you set them up for success. Everybody, I think, complains in this business because they're constantly set up to fail. And then maybe they do, maybe they don't. But when they fail, they feel bad about it. And it wasn't anything that they did. It was they were set up to fail. So we're going to focus on our team. Our number one goal and objectives now is to service the driver. Everyone understands that when we service the driver and we give them the correct tools and we set them up to be successful, in the end, we're going to please the customer. And the drivers want to continue to work because they're more successful than they are failing. So that's truly where we believe the success of Whimsy is going to come from in the future.
Definitely, yeah. And there's such a high turnover rating overall in the industry for truck drivers, and
I wish I had our rating. for turnover. I don't think we've had anybody leave in a long time.
It's amazing. And then a lot of new drivers come on board because of referrals.
Well, all of our business, all of our revenue generated is from referral of customer, and all of our drivers and most of our employees come through referral process as well. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. And so, like, from like a customer perspective, have you had like a change in the way you service your customers as well throughout the years? Have you looked at them differently? Have you learned anything along the way, or changed anything?
Stu, always and still super grateful for all of our supporters. Without supporters, you can't perfect your craft. Like I said earlier, you could look at your job as a truck driver, or your job as a dispatcher, or whatever the case may be, a mechanic, lift operator. If you're not happy, then why are you doing it, right? If you're going to do it right. Perfect your craft. If you flip a burger, be the best burger flipper, right?
Oh.
So it shouldn't matter. I always believed that perception was reality, and draymen were always perceived in the trucking business as the lowest form of trucking. So all I wanted to do is give my team and my drivers the professionalism that they deserve and the respect, because it's a very dangerous, demanding job.
Okay.
And I don't think the general public, in general, understands the danger, right?
Sure.
Drive on the 294 bridge that's under construction there, and the lanes are changing. Imagine being straddled to an 80,000-pound vehicle doing 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Switching lanes and having elevation changes in your road path.
Sure.
So you just have to have a great respect. Everybody says they do, and we all have Driver Appreciation Week, but drivers need to be appreciated all the time, just like everyone else.
I drove with a truck driver from Ohio to Chicago back in September, and that was quite remarkable. I mean, the driver, great guy, Eric Prescott, and I realized how lonely it is. You know, like if you're sitting in a truck, all day long, like you could listen to the radio, listen to some podcasts, and then you're also risking your life because it isn't a safe. It's probably the most dangerous job out there in terms of statistics of people dying and on the job. So it's definitely something that drivers don't have the respect or appreciation, especially freight brokers. I guess they get a really bad rep from trucking companies because they're just sitting at their jobs and on the phone, on their computer, and they don't understand that driving an 80,000 pound truck is difficult, and delays happen, and then the broker just gets mad at you and puts a bad review on you. And I think that's something that the freight brokerage industry definitely needs to take a look into, and or at least learn from. Spend some time with trucking companies, spend some time with truck drivers.
I think they'd be just better served by supporting them and encourage them, and finding ways to actually be a teammate, right? We all throw the word around team. But if you're not helping or verifying or checking something that someone else did, then you're really not on a team. If you're only the one doing the work, then you're by yourself. You might as well be a golfer or a tennis player, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you really have to embrace the team thing because nobody's perfect. And so the way we go about it at Whimsy is everything has to be double checked. Doesn't matter this, that, copied in email. Everything's double checked, and still things are missed. That's Murphy's Law, right?
Sure.
You can't
20.
you can't stop or fix everything. So the team just enjoys finding pain points, working on them, and correcting them. Most of the time, people are stressed out about the unknown or things that they have zero management over. And when you prepare or you do manage well, you do have the same incidents. They don't come as often, and they're generally, hopefully, they're not as bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in terms of processes, because you did mention that everything's double checked. I'm wondering what kind of technology are you using nowadays, like from compare to what you were using in '96, where it was probably just a phone and a fax machine. How has it evolved throughout the years?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, we didn't even have fax machines. And then when the fax machines came, that we got the curly paper that turned yellow after like 10 days or so.
Sure.
So, yeah. Well, we get our information, a lot of our customers, it comes through EDI. Otherwise, it still comes through email if we don't have an EDI connection. That way, that information, when we go through our TMS system, the drivers have the app. They can report their pieces weight and seal through the app. The app has geofencing.
Yeah.
So all of these things has the customer's email in their profile, and it updates the customer through there.
Okay. And which TMS do you use?
Trinium.
True. Okay. Are you satisfied with them?
As satisfied as one could be, right?
Okay.
Everything's relative.
Yeah, definitely. So now we could continue talking about business wisdom, like what you've learned throughout the years, along with, I want to hear some crazy stories throughout your years. You've probably seen everything.
So I thought about that when you said that, and I could go back as far as 1996, or I go back to last year.
Yeah.
Last year, end of November, COVID started running through Whimsy like a wildfire. And so at one time, it was just, I hadn't dispatched in quite some time, over a decade. And let's just say I had a dispatch starting Monday through Friday, the week where all but one dispatcher, and he was even sick. One guy came in Monday till 10, left, tested positive for COVID. And the last dispatcher that I worked all week with left Thursday around 5. And I don't have the same skills as my dispatchers do. I mean, back in the day, we would say everything through a push to talk or Nextel or whatever like that. Now they get their information through ESChat or multiple other forms. And my phone, the ESChat, and the radio. I forget who it was, but everything was melting down, absolutely melting down. And I managed to get the whole fleet dispatched by like 11 o'clock that night. And the first guy who had went out 10 days prior came back Friday morning. So we'd gotten down to 0 dispatchers for a certain point. It was, but not only that. I mean, it was just the scariest point, I would have to say, in my history at Whimsy, because it was hard to make payroll. It was hard to do anything. It was almost a complete meltdown.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the, I guess, difficult points of being an owner of a company. You have that all on your mind. You're probably going to sleep thinking about it, waking up thinking about it.
I tell my children, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it made us stronger, that's all.
Yeah, definitely. I love that mindset.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've talked about. It's amazing. So to build on that, Matt, can you tell us more a little bit about just like, I guess if there was someone here that was 28 years old, not me, but like someone that wanted to just ask you for like three tips in life moving forward, what would you tell them?
In logistics?
In logistics, or like we could do in logistics. Like let's say they're working in logistics.
So the things I always talk about is actions speak louder than words, right? You can tell people you can do this, you can do that, but just your actions, you have to have experience, and your actions speak louder than words. The other would be treat people how you want to be treated. If you treat people nasty, then you should be treated nasty. If you treat people nice, then people should treat you nice. These are things that your grandparents probably talk about, right?
Yeah.
And then be careful what you wish for, right? We all want something, and then you get it, all right? But I always say, be careful what you wish for, because what's next? So.
Well, it's kind of funny. I want to bring this up is you flew me out here to Chicago for the Chicago Intermodal Association party, which was amazing. And I didn't even know how you looked like, Matt, because you don't have a profile picture on LinkedIn. So I get to the party on Wednesday night, and the first question I asked is why did you bring me out here? Could you tell us why? I know you told me, but
I just believe that you. I've been following you, and everything is about the freight broker and your memes, which all apply to a carrier as well. We're at what you would call we're heavily heavy asset carrier, right?
Yeah.
We're most people don't have, they lease or whatever.
Sure.
So where were we again?
You basically bought me a ticket in business class.
Oh, right.
And I was like the first question.
All your stuff is, I wanted you to experience the Chicago Intermodal Association party. I'm just proud of that. All the people in the association, they do a great job of keeping everybody connected and networking. It was the party used to be like a prom or something, who wanted to go, and everybody dreaded it. So I was like, let's not dread it, right? Yeah. Let's bring Paul in. Let's bring all our best customers in. Let's celebrate and enjoy, and you can see positive side of something, right, in the trucking business.
Sure.
I had a great time. I wish it hadn't been so loud. The acoustics was terrible. And you in a situation, you never get to spend enough quality time with all the supporters.
Sure.
We had a lot of supporters there, and I was a little disappointed in that aspect, which I would have liked to have had some more conversations.
Sure, definitely. But yeah, it was a fun event. I had a great time, and you mentioned something during the event that you're at a stage in life now where you're trying to help as many people as possible.
I'm very grateful for where we are today, and so I feel my position at Whimsy now is just to give the people the proper tools and encouragement and support, and let them grow it, right?
Sure.
I'm trying to set a nice culture where people actually enjoy coming to their job. I'm already more successful than I ever believed that I would be. So, the best satisfaction now is the young people, encouraging them and seeing them excited about actually what we do. We'll be opening some new facilities, one in Joliet and another one in Edgerton, Kansas, that will be operating training centers. So we'll actually be paying apprentices to learn to be a truck driver, or a welder, or a chassis repair, or a lift operator, whatever necessary. And we'll be working with junior colleges and vocational schools to get young adults in there and encourage them, pay them, and then give them a career path, something that they could be excited about. At the same time, these facilities are going to be research and development for technology and how it applies to our business, and finding ways to actually move containers through the ramp and to the customers quicker, and putting equipment back into the system. We're going to go to a more European, Australian model. If the container doesn't need to be on a chassis, then why would you have it on a chassis? In Chicago, the situation happened where everybody was storing their freight and containers on everyone's chassis, so there's no chassis left. or you can't get rid of the empties. But that's all been resolved, and moving forward in the first, second, third quarter, there should be plenty of chassis for everyone.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I definitely want to, I guess, continue talking about some stories that you've experienced in your life. Do you any of like? We could, if this doesn't work out, if you don't want this in, we could cut it out. But do you have like any more like kind of like a story that was kind of like to you like sticks out throughout those 27 years of like that, like, wow, that happened and this is what I learned from it?
Yeah. So that would be.
You could take your time and think about it, because we could cut this out a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have tons of those stories. I mean,
yeah, I could imagine.
I go back to I have a driver, Antoine Guilford, and his first day, he was supposed to meet another driver to haul garbage. We did, in the beginning, we did containers, and then we did waste transfer. We picked it up from a transfer station and took it to the landfill. And then we did air freight. All the things I did when I was owner-operator, worked for all the other companies that I'd worked for. So I have a keen eye for cube space and weight. In any event, me and a couple other drivers had been working till 2:30 in the morning, moving last free day containers to a customer that was taking 24-hour drop and pull. So it was all hands on deck, and we were coming back at 2:30 in the morning, and Antoine's waiting. He said, when are you guys going with us? With me? Am I going with one of you guys? And we said, no, you're going with Phil. We're the container guys. Phil's the garbage guy. And on that day, no, I don't know where I was going with that. I mean, I was going to say, I when the drivers would haul garbage, they were paid by the ton.
Yeah.
Okay, so they would always go get an early preload. So I could tell you this story about, and I was still Antoine, but I don't know if we should put that on. But I'm over at the Bolingbrook scale paying an overweight fine, and I'm getting chewed out by the scale master that my drivers blow past the scale when it's open. And I said my drivers would never blow by the scale when it was open. And just then, one of our drivers went by. The scale was open, and he's right there. And I'm like, I have no way. Back then, I had no way of contacting him, right? So I was like, oh man. So that that's Ed. You know what? Drivers still to this day, not our drivers, of course, but you could not pay attention for 1 second, and the scale could open, right?
Yeah.
And you miss the scale. So
There's a lot of memes on that. I see like in trucking where, well, truck drivers want to always miss the weight scale.
yeah.
It's like a scary place to be in.
Well, if you're not familiar with that, and then there's state troopers there, and they wear big hats, and they got radios, and it could be intimidating.
Sure.
Causes stress, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when our drivers get pulled over, I feel like intermodal truck drivers are more scrutinized than van trailers.
Okay. Why is that?
It's just an easy mark, has always been the case in the industry because of the maintenance on the chassis.
Okay. Got it. I've been seeing like recently a lot in Chicago and in America ever since like the freight boom of 2020, 2021, all these like F-350s pulling containers. And I've just been like, yesterday there was a container that I forgot how many feet it was. I think it was like a 40-foot container, so it was big. And it was on a F-350, like
pulling empties.
Like I wasn't even sure that was legal. It looks illegal.
They're empties.
Okay.
We don't do that, but other people do. It's a way of relocating an empty. Generally you would take that back to a depot, lift that one off, and get another one on.
Okay.
Carriers in Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, places like that, right?
Sure.
Not so much us. We built facilities by all the ramps and the depots so that we didn't have to do that.
Sure.
We generally have to go 1 to 5 miles to one of our yards.
Okay.
So that makes it very convenient for us, right? I would say almost every one of our containers that goes through our system, that goes through one of our yards, gets inspected. Pressure gets put to the tires, brakes get checked, lights get checked. That's just something we do, something we've done for the last 15 years. So
like if the driver is at the weight scale and there's a state trooper with his big hat on, they're typically getting good safety scores.
yeah, so
That's what it's for, right? All the checks and the lights. And I know each driver's a little bit different, but
well, that's touchy because for me, I sometimes feel like the drivers get piled on.
okay.
It's one thing to write up this or that. I mean, if you look at some of the write-ups that I've viewed, you would think that, we're driving terrible equipment from some third world country that had bought it from a 50-year-old trucking company, right? It's just, how far do you go? That's another thing that discourages drivers. Quite frankly, is that sometimes the troopers do pile on. They have a job to do at the same time. Piling onto a driver's PSP, crushing him with points is not beneficial for him or anybody else in the system, right?
Yeah. So has that been like I guess a problem that has been like on the top of your mind? Because I know from a trucking company standpoint, dealing with 80,000 pounds on the road, you have a lot of responsibility from like the government aspect and from a well-being aspect. Would you say that's on your like something that you have to worry about constantly or think about? Like in the safety aspect, like
23 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
No, I mean, we have a great infrastructure, and we have assets and processes and people. Do mistakes happen? Yes, but for me, no, I don't constantly worry about it because I feel as though I've done the necessary work and I've got the strong enough team in place to help me navigate this. No one can mitigate any bad disaster. All you can do is just constantly be in people's faces, explaining safety, goal, get out and look. These types of things just need to be reiterated consistently. Signs, whatever it is, constantly reminding people the dangers and to look, right? At the same time, so much happens. If everybody used to freak out. Our first DOT audit, everyone was like, "Oh, this was like 3 years into business," and we had this DOT audit. And I said, "Listen, none of us went to DOT school or any of these things. We are all, on a whim." So I said, let's use this as a seminar, a training experience. Get them everything they need, do what they request, and then let's be better. They were there for 5 days. We got a $33,000 fine that they reduced to $18,000. And then the next time they came back, they were there for a day because we had changed and organized and did the necessary things that were required. Yes, it's a very regulated business, and you better understand that you are going to go through several audits, right?
How many audits have you had?
Oh, you're kidding, right? You mean what year? There's usually 7 or 8 audits a year.
Really?
IRP audit for the plates, IFTA audit, workman's comp audit, insurance audit, bank audit.
There's an application.
IRS audit. We're the audit pros.
Sure. There's an application right now. It came out recently. It's got some venture capital investment. from Dynamo Ventures called LogRock. Not sure if you ever heard of it, Matt, before, but logrock.com. And I know the CEO, and that's why I'm mentioning it. Supposedly, he created an application where it organizes all your safety. So like every driver has a profile, and then like if you need to update the driver's license or license plate, it always it gives you you log in and it tells you exactly what your to-do list is. So it's just it's nice to I guess kind of have that organization, and it's somewhat technology has been helping companies be more efficient. It's not replacing anyone. It just, I guess, decreasing the amount of mistakes an employee could make, especially when it's
still employees putting that information in there.
Yeah, exactly. Employees putting the information in. So it's just a tool that I guess helps.
Yes, we have a similar thing. Thank goodness I don't have to burden myself with that. I have a good, strong person that handles that.
Sure.
But anything that would help her do her job better and make her more efficient, I'm all for. So that's how I am.
Yeah, sure. I'll have to introduce you to the CEO, Hunter. He's a cool guy. He's a smart guy.
That'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, cool. Matt, I do want to ask you a final question about sales. I'm actually working on an application called shippercrm.com right now, where we're looking to help freight brokers and trucking companies stay organized in terms of sales structure. And I wanted to ask you, what are your top 3 sales tips to anyone selling?
So,
especially specifically in logistics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we actually turn away a good amount of business because they would never pass our credit. So we've been working with people to turn those into actual sales where we're not jeopardizing our receivable situation. Everything in my world is about how you're going to pay me and when you're going to pay me, right?
Yeah.
The sales part, build a good, strong team, and undersell and overproduce. That's the best way to sell. I don't know. I don't go out and talk about two sides of my mouth for sales, right? I said actions speak louder than words. So really, when you perform and you execute missions and you undersell and overperform, and people find out, and in the freight business, when somebody's moving something and people then, you could see it. Last year we had 4 humongous surges where I asked my team, I'm like, guys, gals, do you want to, accept less work and make this more manageable, or do you want to continue with the chaos? And they said, continue with the chaos. And I was like, all right, well, continue with the chaos. So I don't know. I don't really sell that way. I don't I can't sell everybody because if I can't generate that sale into a cash receipt, it's a waste of time.
Sure.
So, and like I said, we miss out on a ton of opportunities just because people's credit rating. So the best thing, I guess, is just for shippers is to pay on time.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what we watch now, and that's how we choose our customers, our partners.
Sure.
We want to do a good job for you, but at the same time, we want to be paid in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
That's just good business.
Definitely. And
so I don't know if that really helped you with the sale thing.
It's a good problem, but that's something that you've gained through building a reputable company for 27 years, and the longer you're in the game, the more opportunities you have, and you're in a position where you have, it seems like, too much demand for the supply that you have. So it's a good problem to have.
I don't think you ever have too much. Right?
But from the standpoint that you turn down potential customers.
I said we're going to be hopefully converting them in the future to potential sales receipts, right?
Sure.
But we always say there's 2 people that don't care what they're going to pay. One's the military, and the other is somebody who's not going to pay you anyway.
No.
So, that's it's a tough business, right? You have to work with trusted partners. People trust you to move their freight. You have to do what you say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to move their freight, and when you have a proven record of moving people's freight safely, consistently, right, without all the excuses, serpentine belt broke, pick the following time to leave me, Lucille. All of the don't accept excuses. Be straight with people. Hey, the guy blew me off, or hey, I got outrated. You don't have to lie. Just be straightforward and honest. Yeah.
I like that. Matt, do you work with freight brokers at all?
We do right now, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We used to work with freight brokers more in the beginning, right?
Sure.
Just preference-wise, you would rather deal direct with anybody.
Sure.
So, our ultimate is we want to get most of our opportunities from anybody, right? We don't care if you're a freight broker or a BCO or a forwarder or a 3PL. If you entrust us to move your freight, those are opportunities for us to be better, right?
Sure. So, to build on that, I do have a lot of freight brokers that do follow me. So you might get a surge of people messaging you, emailing you to get set up. So I'm wondering if you give us some contact information if someone wants to reach out to Matt or to someone else at the company to get set up.
Pricing at whimsytrucking.com.
Okay.
Or anybody could always email me.
Sure.
I thought my email was on LinkedIn, but then whoever controls that for me removed it.
Got it.
I get so many emails, and being on, overseeing Kansas City, Chicago. The reason Whimsy's in Kansas City and Chicago is these are the two largest inland ports in the U.S., correct? Everything interchanges through Chicago or Kansas City.
Sure.
It could come as far as Halifax, or it could come from Vancouver, right? Tacoma, Oakland, L.A., Long Beach, Miami, Houston. It's amazing. We here in Chicago, we deal directly with 6 Class 1 railroads, and in Kansas City, 7, which will be back to 6 once the CP KCS's merger goes through.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I like trains. I like trucks. I like lifts. I like gantry lifts. I like everything. It fascinates me, the flow of freight. If it doesn't and you're not interested, then and logistics makes you crazy, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but you should embrace the challenges, or it's not for you.
Life's too short for that.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're a weirdo like me, and you could enjoy it, I say about the Joliet and Edgerton facilities, these are my Disney worlds. This is, we're going to have solar panels down there, charging stations for our EV trucks.
Oh, nice.
And we'll be operating them just in the areas as that we test them out, and as success rate happens, we'll push the drivers out farther with them. But yeah, it's exciting times to be, for me anyway, Whimsy Trucking.
Yeah.
It's exciting time to be in business. Is it going to get slow? Is there going to be recession? I have no idea. I don't focus on those things.
Yeah.
I focus more on keeping the team encouraged and supporting them, and then executing our day-to-day missions.
Sure. Someone's always winning, and the market, even if it's a more difficult market, you just have to play on a different level, but there's always an opportunity to win, to make money, to be happy. And when you look at the news and everyone's selling fear, people pick up on it. It's every media station is all about the fear angle, because that's what gets clicks. And nowadays everyone's talking about a recession, but at the same time, there's lots of companies that are growing at a nice rate and keeping their employees happy. So I definitely I like that approach, and I respect that, because there's too much fear in this world right now.
Well, yeah, with good reason at the same time. But if you think about it from an economic sense, right? Med Shipping right now, their current book order, if it was delivered today, would be the size or bigger than Haypeg's fleet today. So does that sound like the shipping business is going downhill anytime soon?
Well, just some companies definitely going downhill, but they're just people that I guess aren't educated, or they came in a hot market in like 2020, 2021. They thought they could just make a lot of money and then spend it all. And
this is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're not a marathon runner, then you could get tired real fast.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll be filming next month. Hopefully, the driver agrees to do some filming on the
100%. He loves that stuff.
That'd be awesome. We could do like a day in the life of being an intermodal driver.
Chicago
at Whimsy.
Intermodal.
Yeah.
So we call that getting into the belly of the beast.
Sure.
I still have a CDL. I haven't driven a couple months now, but you have to get into the belly of the beast. I would only go on Saturdays or Sundays. So Beast is normally sleeping on Saturdays and Sundays. And it's calming down now, but 6-8 months ago, it was turning.
Yeah.
So we call the inner part of the rail the belly of the beast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see the beast all the time driving on the road. What is the off the highway on 294?
Okay,
is that BNSF?
Highway down 294 by O'Hare would be the Canadian Pacific.
Canadian Pacific, okay, yeah. I drive.
It's, you're going over the Bensonville yard.
Yeah. It's crazy out there. But I'm looking forward, Matt. Thanks for having me out here. This is all thanks to you. So we'll be back next month. If anyone wants to reach out to Matt, they could, or reach out to Whimsy. Email pricing at whimsytrucking.com. Reach out to Matt O'Mara on LinkedIn, and we'll have some more video content coming next month as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Like I said, just wanted to make it for a better time, grand finale of the year.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I accomplished it, but hey.
No, that was great. I loved it.
When it comes to the trucking industry, is electric trucks as well as just everything going electric/autonomous, you think is going to be a good thing for the industry, or potentially a bad thing?
Just like everything in the logistics business, that's clear as mud, because it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is electric and exploring any kind of new form of energy for transporting freight is a great idea, right? Everybody wants to flock to electric, and you need balance in everything, your life, balance in the trucking business. So I believe truly you need hydrogen, you need electric, diesel, gas, and not be beholden to any one energy source, right? And then you said about autonomous, it's discouraging to hear autonomous because it's discouraging young drivers from driving. 1912 is when automatic pilot was invented for airplanes, and his name was Sperry, and you don't get in an airplane that doesn't have a pilot in it, right? So the autonomous is good, where they'll probably use it on turnpikes or platooning, or Whimsy would use it for our autonomous truck sitting in line at S-Lot at the BNSF waiting for a lift, right? You don't need to actually have a human in there. You need the human to transport it to the end user. So that's why I said it's a good thing and a bad thing, is that I anything that helps the driver be safer, autonomous, or all the avoidance is hugely. But unless all of the vehicles on the road, like cars, were autonomous, I think it's 78% of truck accidents are created by a car or a four-wheeler. So, anything that benefits the driver autonomously and then exploring as many energy sources as we could would just be make good sense for everyone.
Yeah. And in terms of like autonomous vehicles, like Tom, I think it just makes drivers safer. Just to build on Matt's point, like, all airplanes have pilots and they're still on autopilot. So I think it's kind of similar story. Like, you're not going to have, in my opinion, an 80,000-pound truck driving with no one in it. If anything, it's going to make them safer. It's going to give them signals if they should be braking, or it will brake by itself. So therefore, like, I think it will make the industry safer, because like the industry overall, there are a lot of accidents, but I think it's going to decrease the amount of accidents on the road. So it's definitely a good thing. And drivers that are going into the industry shouldn't be discouraged, because it's just going to make them more, I guess, safe and more of an efficient driver. So that's my viewpoint.
To just get one more in there, right? So, again, I'm out of this industry, but to me, it strikes me as there's probably been massive improvements as far as the technology when it comes to computers and communication and stuff like that. But at some point, the last 30, 40 years, it's probably very similar, that it's like you pick up the truck, you drive it somewhere, you drop it off. So what sort of like technology is exciting in the freight and logistics field?
Right. There's all sorts. I mean, I see all sorts. They put pallets onto these conveyors, and then once it loads up, it loads the whole truck in one foul swoop. What I think would be greatly beneficial for the whole system would be to build out everyone's warehouses with the nicest drivers' rooms, right? And then you have first come, first serve, and you get the driver in and out so fast that he can't even enjoy the driver's room, so he wants to come back, right? Right now we have the opposite. You have cages, dirty areas, give me your keys. No restrooms. And we do everything to discourage drivers from wanting to drive and people to come into the system. I get calls that my driver was seen urinating in the parking lot, but yet they wouldn't let him in or give him a restroom to use.
Sure.
This is basic human needs that, general public has to have access to. Yeah. So, I don't know. There's so much in warehousing, shipping, the efficiencies, is going to be savings in energy, right? Mm-hmm. It was no interest before in the logistics business, and now there's just massive investment now.
In the last few years, there's been insane amount.
Yeah, and so it's going to pay. It just takes time.
Yeah, and a lot of companies raised a ton of VC money, and like I think there's a statistic that only 5% of VC companies actually become successful. So in the next few years, you're going to see a lot of companies close down that raised money, but then there's going to be some people that stick out, and there's not going to be any drastic changes. It's just going to be more of an efficient industry. But there's actually, I wrote in my newsletter today, or we wrote in our newsletter today about Einride. Have you heard of Einride from Sweden? It's like a autonomous vehicle that's also EV, but what they do is they have like a really funky looking truck, but they created a truck and they just secured $500 million in funding, essentially where you could remotely drive the truck. So you could be at home and you could drive the truck. And they just, it's interesting because that might be, maybe in 20 years, something like that might exist, as long as it's obviously very safe, but it still doesn't get rid of the driver. Just the driver could be from home steering it, and it's a question mark on how it's going to look like. But
remote road driver.
Yeah, but like when you look at
from his house in Wyoming.
Yeah. Like when you look at like just how much improvements we have had in our life and what kind of a cozy lifestyle we live compared to our ancestors, I think it's possible that's definitely very possible.
I believe anything is possible. All right.
Yeah.
If it's safe.
Yeah. There's also drones delivering parcels, which I think we're going to see more and more of.
But you're here in Chicago. How's a drone going to be on a windy day?
Well, you have to create a better drone, better, more expensive drone. So I know there's one in Utah that's delivering just medication, prescription medication, like through the mountains. So especially if you're older and you can't, you're sick or you can't really move, it's very convenient as long as you're able to actually figure out how it works. But I think there's gonna be a lot of improvements, a lot of interesting stuff. Supposedly there's gonna be some rocket that's gonna be like if you have like some very high like priority shipment that has to be expedited. Eventually you'll have a rocket that could ship it within like an hour anywhere in the world. So I've read about that too. There's a company that raised money on that, which it's all futuristic. It's interesting to see. We're definitely moving a lot slower than probably like what people might expect it. Because I've been in the industry for 7 years and there's barely been any drastic improvements. I don't think there's been any drastic improvements in the industry, but just been more efficient with technology. And we're slowly going to continue building that efficiency. And I think, it's going to be exciting. That's for sure.
Those gains need to be seen because the population will be growing, right? Yeah, that was the other reason why we were in Kansas City and Chicago. You can reach 80% of the population in 2 days on the ground, right?
Yeah.
And that's what logistics is about, either trains, boats, planes.
Sure.
And moving freight.
Yeah. And Chicago is an amazing city overall, but because it is the logistics capital of the U.S., it's nice to live here. And it's nice to always come and visit because you see all these trucks. You land in the airport and you're flying. You're about to land, and you just see all these warehouses and trucks everywhere. And I love that.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. So awesome. Cool, Tom. That was cool. I like that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Ad-libbed.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily FreightCaviar podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more FreightCaviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.